103, 104, 105. Oh, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. For today's video, we're going to be doing some art for Halloween. Ultimately, the goal here is to just have like a page full of different concepts for pumpkin designs, but they're not just going to be any regular pumpkins. We want them to look scary. And you might ask, how are you doing Halloween art in November? We had some technical issues, I'd say, on my end where I thought I lost the recording, it crashed, but I was able to get my files and we figured that out. So by the grace of God, we have it all together. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so as I usually do, you guys see here, I start off with my sketch, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I actually was gonna include this with the recording because in this first stage of me just sketching and playing around, I wasn't too happy with it, and I'm never usually that guy to leave out a process in my YouTube videos, but this time I was so close to doing that because you'll see in the end some of these sketches I do end up keeping, but this first run, like I see this one here, I don't know what's going on. You see I'm drawing things, erasing them, changing them, but you know, that's all part of the process and being a stressed out artist. Plus the fact that I was up drawing at like 1 a.m. wasn't the best decision. I feel like nowadays I like to draw earlier in the day rather than when I'm tired. It's just like, if you're an artist, you know, sometimes you get that random spark at like 1 a.m, 2 a.m, where you just want to grab whatever utensils you use and create something. And I think that's kind of where I was at here, but sometimes it's give or take. It just depends. Other times I'll see, oh, it's working out, it's 2 a.m, I'm creating a masterpiece. And then times like now, I'm not proud, not exactly feeling it as we're going through. Starting, I was like, yeah, I want to draw. And then you actually draw and you change your mind because you're tired. So with that being said, the next day I returned and I left it with this. What you're seeing here is what I ended the night with. And then I returned and was like, okay, some things I'm seeing some potential and other things I'm liking. With these pumpkins, I'm trying to just give them all their own vibe. It's not necessarily that I'm imagining them being together in a scene. It's just I want to do some concepts, like different concepts of scary pumpkins, and you could think whatever story you want with it. It's just I'm not keeping a story in mind or anything where I'm imagining that they're each the same style and they're going to be in a scene together. It's more so that I'm just brainstorming, just coming up with different ideas for cool designs. And I find that trying my best to push shape and expressions tend to make the drawings feel a lot more alive, and also making it fun for me to create. When things start to get a little too bland and it's like they're all just have a neutral face or a symmetrical shape, I don't know, it just tends to feel just a little too simple for me. And now that I think about it, this might sound a little contradicting to what I just previously said. I said that I don't try to think too hard on like a story or like what they're like them being together. But that's not fully true, because when I'm drawing them, I do imagine what would these pumpkins sound like, whether it's the pumpkin growling or maybe it has like a spooky type of wheezing sound to it, or I don't know, even some scary ambience noise, or what else, the size of the pumpkin being so large that as it's charging towards you, like the environment's making noises with it, like crackling from the pumpkin and the ground. Those are just little things that I'm keeping in mind as well to help me design and think of a story. So let me scratch that. I wouldn't say that I'm just not thinking at all in terms of the storyline of each character, because essentially I am. It's just when you create characters and stories so often, eventually you'll just get to a point where your imagination does it for you, where it doesn't feel like you have to think too hard to come up with something. It's just as you're creating it, your brain just automatically creates a world around it. Okay, and this is what we're gonna go with here. I like this first rough pass. We got a lot of different cool designs. I'm proud that we got a lot of funky, cool little shapes, and also we focused on asymmetry. Other than that one right there, That one's pretty symmetrical, but I'm still happy with it. Now I'm just moving on to our line work stage, and I'm not gonna lie, I've probably mentioned this in videos before, but I do not enjoy this stage. It's like satisfying to watch, seeing me like basically outline my sketch, but as for the whole drawing process, this is the most boring stage to me. Like when it comes to animating, when it comes to drawing, when it comes to anything, I just don't like this stage of like, see, here I go with the legs. Sorry, I don't enjoy this stage of doing line work. And also just notice how I'm using two different brush sizes. So for the most part of the outer shapes of each pumpkin, I'm using a bigger brush size. And then for the details, to get in the sense of some texture, like even in the interior of each pumpkin, or even just outer cracks and creases of the mouths and stuff, I'm using a thinner brush size. I feel like that just helps build more depth and not make my drawings look so flat. Like, of course, we're gonna up it when we render it and make it look 3D, but just because I add some color and shading, we can still make it look three-dimensional with just the line work. So that's just something to keep in mind. But also it's give or take where I change the rules with this technique. Whereas you see with this pumpkin here and this one with the more squished face, you see I actually do use a thicker brush. Where we get those darker lines, I kind of just want to emphasize those creases. So emphasizing the crease for the mouth here, and then also emphasizing the pinch on the face of this one. So I guess not all the time am I doing the thicker brush size on the outside. And then now, as usual, the next step will be to just fill in each pumpkin with a base color. Now, I did do something neutral, and then of course on top of that, I'm getting in each individual base color of the pumpkins. Because I want them to look different, we're going with some oranges, some yellows, and some browns. I already know I'm never one to be scared to change my colors later on, so we just gotta move on and obviously change the background to black, because I do want these to stand out a little more and give that spooky vibe rather than that plain white background. Now getting into actually, making this thing come alive with more colors. And because the goal here is concept art for animation, I want to go with this cartoony type look. So we don't want to make this overly rendered and make it look super 3D. With that, you see I'm adding in that shadow, highlight, those simple layers. I would say about like 4 extra layers on top, excluding the base layer and the line work itself. I'm just noticing that I didn't mention that I actually am using a bit of a reference. I got these 2 photos here that are just different types of pumpkins, because I feel like if I didn't look up some references of different colors and shapes, I probably would have just made them all orange, when actually there's so many different visual aspects to take into consideration, like the age of the pumpkin, the bruises, the bumps, the creases of it. I just really wanted to look at different colors and textures, and so we just stuck to these 2 references here, and no more than that, because if I got references of like spooky pumpkins, then it would kind of take away the hard work that I would have to do. So just keeping it to these 2 references and leaving it up to me and my imagination to turn these pumpkins into monsters. Now back to how I mentioned how I wanted each pumpkin to have different characteristics. This design here, I purposely gave it sharper teeth because my intentions were to make it resemble some type of piranha type character. Those type of monsters that are more quick and sporadic with how they attack. Whereas this one here, I'm imagining is just a creepy design. Probably has some type of sinister laugh. That's why we have this smirk and the blacked out eyes. It kind of reminded me of the Scarecrow from Gotham City, or just any regular scary scarecrow that people be designing. Now for this one, I really wanted to take advantage of this large mouth we have, the 3 different mutations going on. I guess I kind of imagined this being a science experiment gone wrong, which is why we have, 2 other pumpkins growing from the sides. And down to adding the texture all around the pumpkin and even the spit flying outward. These are intentional decisions I had because I wanted this to look really loud. Like I wanted to represent energy from this pumpkin and clearly show its aggressive behavior, kind of a monster like King Kong or Godzilla when you think of those 2. As for this one, I feel like I was most excited to color this one because it's the only lighter colored pumpkin, I guess white you can say, that I have on here. So I was really interested to see how I pulled this off. So we have a little bit of these yellowish green tones for the highlights and stuff. And then I still want to show that subtle flesh tone of the orange, because in some white pumpkins that I was seeing, you still get a little bit of orange in there. So I'm glad we did that. But something about this one feels racist. I don't know what it is. It just reminds me of a Trump supporter. You know, I find it quite interesting that this was one of the only ones that I decided to add a light source inside of the pumpkin. I think that was more so because with these designs, I wanted it to be naturally scary, if that makes sense. I didn't want to force like glowing inside the pumpkin or the carving of each pumpkin design to make it scary. I wanted some of these to look like natural monster mutations, like maybe someone injected these pumpkins with something which turned them into this. Now of course you'll see some of these are carved, but like this design here, this one, I thought of like a saber-toothed tiger. Like that's why we got these super sharp teeth, and I just came up with this sluggish look to it, like kind of reminds me of a snail. This one, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm happy with the color choice with this. We got that darker look and then the light coming through the mouth as well. I really wasn't sure how I was gonna pull this one off, but I also like how we made it look kind of veiny and uncomfortable to look at, I'll say. And to be honest, if any design has the least amount of originality to it, it's definitely this one. This is something you've seen. Like I feel like this is your generic scary pumpkin. However, yes, I did it in my own style, but you know, I feel like with this I was running out of ideas, and I still think it looks cool with the cracks and the ridges we have with how it's carved. As for my thought process with this one, I just think it looks abused. Like I just wanted to draw one that looks like it's been through a lot, it's been abused, it's all beat up, messed up, destroyed, but maybe not necessarily old. I didn't want to make it look old and ran down, just kind of like destroyed. And lastly, for this one here, I was having a hard time imagining the size of this. Like yes, I guess it seems a little bigger, but when I was imagining this pumpkin, if I were to see it or comparing it to the size of a human, would this be a large pumpkin, like a giant monster, or would it be small? I don't know. I feel like maybe giving it this rabbit type teeth to it kind of made me imagine it as a bunch of tiny pumpkins. Like imagine this design, but 30 of them chasing you. That could go, or this could be one giant pumpkin like storming down the road. I don't know, but I like this design. Great, and that's going to be it for this video here. I hope you guys really enjoyed. Now, as for my favorite one here, I definitely say it's this one in the middle. I really like the design of this, and I don't think it's something that I've seen before. Not to say that any of these other ones aren't original, but this one just is the one that catches my eye the most. Now, as for the one that I think is the most scariest, I would say is this one, though it seems like it's a lot more simple. I don't know, something about the smile and the glowing eyes just feels uncomfortable. I feel like if I seen this just in the dark hallway or something, this one would scare me the most. But yeah, let me know which one is your favorite and which one you think is the scariest down below in the comments. And as always, be sure to leave that like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.